Why does Charizard have hate in the first place? When did this start? Is it even justified? Today, we're going to discuss if Charizard really deserves the hate or not, or is it just a massive overreaction? It all started just after the release of X and Y. These games introduced Mega Evolution, which was the first special battle mechanic where a strong bond, a keystone, and a Mega Stone draw out a Pokemon's hidden strength. A lot of older Pokemon got these forms, with most of them being from Kanto or Hoenn. As only a limited amount of Pokemon can get a form like this, you'd think each Pokemon would get one form each, right? Wrong. For some reason, Charizard and Mewtwo got 2 different forms each, but it's no big deal, right? They were just making version exclusives and just happened to pick 2 of the most popular Pokemon for that role. Fast forward to Generation 7, and they introduced a new system to replace HMs, called Ride Pokemon, which seems harmless and was honestly a really good alternative. There were 6 new Ride Pokemon. A few of those were Tauros for just running around and smashing rocks, Lapras for surfing, and Machamp for moving boulders. And you'll never guess who they picked as the replacement for Fly, our favourite fire-flying type Pokemon, Talonflame. Namkin, of course they picked Charizard. Although not much, this was the 2nd generation it had gotten special treatment in a row, so I'm sure you're starting to notice a pattern, and you don't even know the half of it yet. Moving on to the Generation 8 games, and the first preview of these sent shockwaves through the community. During the first preview, we discovered the new champion, Leon, and his ace being Charizard? This sent the community into outrage, and honestly, after the last few generations, can you blame them? Another thing that came along with these games was the new battle mechanic called Dynamax, where Pokemon become much bigger and have their moves replaced with max moves. Some Pokemon can go even further and can Gigantamax, which allows them to have a signature max move alongside a design change. You can unlock this by drinking Max Soup in the Isle of Armor, or finding them in Dynamax Raid Dance. Similar to Mega Evolution, there was a decent amount of Pokemon from Kanto who got a Gigantamax form. These were Pokemon like Butterfree and Kingler, who hadn't had much attention before Generation 8. So what's so bad about older Pokemon getting new forms? Honestly, nothing's wrong with it. Pokemon like Kingler and Butterfree deserve these forms a lot, but alongside this, Charizard also got a Gigantamax form, whereas the other 2 Kanto starters were left in the dust until the DLC released. This showed even more consistency to the already ongoing problem of Charizard getting much more attention than any other Pokemon. Following this, Generation 9 had finally been released, and it's not in the national decks, and we finally done with Charizard being forced down our throats by the developers? Don't be silly, of course not. So along with the release of Scarlet and Violet, we got Terra Dans, which are basically identical to the Dynamax Raid Dance we had in Galar, but with the new mechanic, Terrestrialization. Similarly to Sword and Shield, they also held events on Pokemon you would not usually be able to obtain in Paldea, which are limited time events. Again, this is good, and honestly a good choice depending on the Pokemon you choose. As Scarlet and Violet was right around the corner, they decided to release the first event publicly, and you'll never guess who the first Pokemon was. Well, it was Charizard. They couldn't have just picked anything else, could they? Now we've spoken about its attention in the games, let's briefly go over its attention in the anime too. From Black and White to even the present day, a recurring character has always had a Charizard to some capacity. Ash brought back his Charizard during episode 116 of the Black and White anime to battle Iris' Dragonite. Also, in Kalos, Alan and Trevor both had Charizard that could Mega Evolve, X and Y respectively, and faced off in the first round of the Kalos League. During Sun and Moon, Kiawe also had one from the very first episode as it was passed on from his grandfather. And of course in Pokemon Journeys, Ash infamously defeated Leon's unbeaten Charizard to become the world champion in spectacular fashion too. And ultimately, one of the main protagonists in Pokemon Horizons, Freed, also has a Charizard too. Now we've spoken about why people could have possibly gained a hatred for Charizard, is it all justified or is it just an overreaction? Let's start off with its different forms. Of course those being Mega Charizard X and Y and its Gigantamax form. As cool as all 3 are, they're definitely excessive. However, did you know there's a Pokemon that has even more forms than Charizard? Meowth has 2 regional variants, in Alola and Galar respectively. We also got Alolan Persian and Persiaca, and to top it all off, Meowth got a Gigantamax form as well, which is a total of 5. And you've also got to remember that Meowth has been in Team Rocket, so basically at the front face of the anime for 25 years. Overall, I do think people are slightly overreacting for Charizard when Meowth literally nearly has double, but I can definitely see both sides. Next up, let's talk about it being the replacement for Fly, and I'm going to make it short and sweet. This is fine, as they could have picked any Pokemon for this. I could maybe see the problem if it was similar to flying with Latios in the Aurus games, but because it's a short animation, I think it's just fine. Now let's talk about probably the biggest fuel to the fire, being Leon. I could go on forever how stupid of a decision this was, especially in a brand new generation. There's so many better aces he could have had, like Dragapult, Mr. Rhyme, Sirfetch'd, and the list just goes on. Or if they really couldn't have decided on a Generation 8 Pokemon, give him Aegislash. It's literally a Sword and Shield Pokemon, like come on dude. There were just no excuses for this really. It's just lazy. And of course we finally have Charizard the Unrivaled, and this was just possibly the worst choice following Sword and Shield as a mainline Pokemon game. I honestly think if they had put it even second or third before some choices like some random starters or Pokemon just not available in the national decks, I guess the best way to put this point of it is just disappointing really. As for the anime, I think it makes the most sense, as probably 90% of their audience are kids, and kids love Charizard, so this is at least understandable. It's kind of a shame it's in Pokemon Horizons, just because I feel like there's so many other strong, powerful Pokemon that are unappreciated and deserve this spotlight. At least there's logic behind this one though. So, now you know the facts, do you think it's justified or not? I'll leave that up for you to decide though. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Anyway, that's going to be the end of this video. Peace out everybody, have an awesome day.